This world, as we know it, is changing faster than ever before, causing glaciers, an important source of our fresh water, to melt away, and catastrophic flooding, and droughts, and wildfires, and billions of dollars of damage. It's not just quantity. The quality of our water is also under threat. Algae taking over our lakes, mining waste ponds leaking into groundwater, boil water advisories across the continent. So how do we face unprecedented challenges crossing borders and affecting every aspect of life? We use the best of science across many disciplines to forecast what the future holds, developing improved models to predict seasonal water flows and disasters, and to assess risks to water quality and human health, building the tools the world needs to manage water risks and protect people, communities, and economies. At Wilfrid Laurier University, we're diagnosing and predicting change in cold regions.
The North is one of the most rapidly changing places on the planet. Warming is happening in the North 2 to 3 times faster than the global average. There's a great urgency to understand these changes, predict these changes, and help develop solutions. Question that threads throughout the Northern Water Futures program has to do with permafrost thaw and its impacts on the land and water resources and the communities that rely on these.
We're working with the public to translate our discoveries into helpful, made-to-measure solutions.
We're working with partners in government, in community-based monitoring networks. A lot of these are Indigenous communities, and so they're very interested in how to better monitor and track environmental change. We've made a partnership with the Talicho government in Northwest Territories to understand the data that's out there, collect some of that data together and integrate it. Hopefully we will see at the end of this, tools in the hands of citizens and communities so that they're actually making the best use of the science that's out there.
And we're making tough choices simpler.
And ultimately, we hope to learn more about how metals may be mobilized in northern landscapes with the effects of climate change. In the area around Yellowknife, yes, there's some very high concentrations of arsenic that have made the news. People are well aware of that. What effect these concentrations have farther afield, we don't know yet. Maybe under conditions of drought or flood or fire, perhaps those metals become more mobilized and then potentially pose a risk. We don't know. These are the kinds of questions that we're trying to answer.
At McMaster University, we're working with the public to translate our discoveries into helpful, made-to-measure solutions.
We use very different techniques, and we study all aspects: meteorology, biological processes, the processes that goes into the soil and how they impact the water. So we try to look at the integrated or the complete picture of these ecosystems and how they work and how these processes are being impacted by environmental changes.
Sensors have always been confined to the laboratory, and often they are expensive, they require skilled personnel, and therefore they need to be brought lower in cost, easy to use, so that they can be used widely to capture data as much as possible in order to inform the population of the quality of water that they're consuming.
Canada's Boreal is the largest biome we have in Canada. It's more people are working, playing, and living in the Boreal, and it's an important part of Canada's economy. When we look at recent disasters such as the Slave Lake wildfire, in particular the Fort McMurray wildfire, where 80,000 people were evacuated and 2,500 homes were destroyed, we really have to consider how we're going to create a more resilient interface between the wildland, which has floods, changing forests and fire, and protecting humans and resources.
And we're making tough choices simpler.
Maybe looking at the way in which our people have accumulated knowledge of our environment over 1,000 years might help shape science. And water is the air, water is clouds, water is our bodies. And so we have a very different orientation towards water. And we also have a lot of teachings about water that we'll be collecting and writing about and putting in digital stories and so trying to get across our understanding of the web of life, if you will, and how water is essential to all humans.
We're diagnosing and predicting change in cold regions.
I lead this Global Water Futures project called Mountain Water Futures, and the goal of our research in this program is to improve water security for the mountain regions of Western Canada and hopefully around the world. I think what our research is trying to do is similar to all Global Water Futures projects, is just improve Canada's ability to steward their water and know what it's going to be like for future generations. In our project, what we're really trying to look at is the mountains. And most people don't realize 50% of the world relies on water from the mountains. We call them the water towers. So what we're really trying to do is not just safeguard Canadians, but all of humanity's future resource.
At the University of Waterloo, we're working with the public to translate our discoveries into helpful, made-to-measure solutions.
The overall goal of Lake Futures is to deliver risk management solutions for Great Lakes and their watersheds. How different management options within the lakes and within their watersheds can be used to improve our water quality without impacting economic growth. We have a whole range of stakeholders. They range from government agencies like Environment and Climate Change Canada, conservation authorities like the Grand River Conservation Authority.
We're diagnosing and predicting change in cold regions.
Maintaining food security is a wicked problem. What we're really trying to understand is how climate and then landscape attributes, but also human decision-making, how these all interact to influence water quantity and water quality, both now and in the future. We're collecting new data, but we're also making use of substantial existing data sets that we have collected across Canada over many, many years.
And we're making tough choices simpler.
We are working towards the development of technologies, innovative new technologies to improve our measurement and monitoring of Canada's water resources in the face of climate change. We are using drones to provide us with the scale of measurement between ground-based sensors that we deployed in the field and satellite observations.
At the University of Saskatchewan, we're diagnosing and predicting change in cold regions.
This environment is changing dramatically. This glacier over the last 3 years has been melting faster than ever recorded, and we've already had 2.5 meters of ice melt this year. Those are the highest rates ever recorded for this glacier.
And we're making tough choices simpler.
How we manage our land and wastewater directly affects our drinking water. We're using data mining and artificial intelligence to help water treatment plants purify our water.
We're seeing a climate change impact in which the wet areas of the world are getting wetter. Those are the high latitudes and the tropics. And in between, in the mid-latitude regions, those are drier. Those are dry regions, and they're getting drier. Embedded within those mid-latitude regions, we're seeing a tremendous amount of depletion of the world's major aquifer systems. So it's a very compelling picture. It's not a particularly pretty picture, and it's one that we need to act on.
We're working with the public to translate our discoveries into helpful, made-to-measure solutions.
We've decided as a society that we want to make decisions that are based on evidence. We've used installations, we've used drama, we've used workshops, we've used field trips. I think the more you can get people to really connect with the science in an environment that's familiar to them, the better off that you're going to be.
We have hundreds of partners like Environment, Climate Change Canada, Natural Resources Canada, Agriculture Canada, but also the provincial agencies and some of the communities. Global Water Futures has simply tapped into this tremendous talent that's across the country. So it was the right place and the right time, and we're doing it.
Global Water Futures. We're working together to prepare for the future of our water.